Good morning. You guys hear me in YouTube land? Anyone?
Gold Iceberg sell GC 150 for contracts.
Thank you, Lou. Appreciate it. No, I'm good. All right, I will be back in a minute after this disclaimer.
Risk disclosure statement. There is a risk of loss in trading stocks, ETFs, commodity futures, derivatives, options, forex, and cryptocurrencies. This risk can be substantial, and therefore investors should carefully consider their financial stability prior to trading. Past performance is not indicative of future performance. The software, strategies, chat rooms, websites, and any associated websites or digital things are for educational purposes only and should not be construed as an express or implied promise or guarantee that you will profit that loss is limited in any manner whatsoever. Users of the information accept full responsibility for the outcomes of their deployment, and most apples and trader, LLC, and any associated companies, agents, management, owners, and customers are on list of reservation. Please trade responsibly. Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, Rule 4.41, hypothetical and simulated trading performance results have certain inherent limitations, some of which are described herein. No representation is being made that any account below is likely to achieve profits or losses similar to those shown. In fact, there are frequently sharp differences between hypothetical or simulated performance results and the actual results subsequently achieved by any particular trading program. One of the limitations of hypothetical performance results is that they are generally prepared with the benefit of hindsight. In addition, hypothetical trading does not involve financial risk, and no hypothetical trading record can completely account for the impact of financial risk in actual trading. For example, the ability to withstand losses or adhere to a particular trading program in spite of trading losses are material points which can also adversely affect actual trading results. Because these trades have not actually been executed, the hypothetical results may have or overcompensated for the impact, if any, of certain market factors such as lack of liquidity. There are numerous other factors related to the markets in general or to the implementation of any specific trading program which cannot be fully accounted for in simulated trading or in the preparation of hypothetical performance results at all, of which can adversely affect actual trading results.
This trade room and this webinars are not intended to mirror my trades or to give specific trade recommendation. Analysis itself, I share trades and trades and myself based on my personal analysis. The role of the features and identify specific areas of trade financial themselves, but ultimately the decision is yours. Trading is extremely risky, and if you decide to follow my personal trades, you sort your own risk and potentially lose your entire account even more. And that I was profitable and have $15 on my trading accounts. The spreadsheet that I access to is my personal spreadsheet that I use at their own values and ATR values, and I'm doing that prices for my trades. You can see when I add their own prices into the master spreadsheet as well as prices that trades working with the long or short. You have the ability to copy this spreadsheet and enter your own values and use mine to confirm zone prices until they're equal to zone spread more so. The spreadsheet is not telling you which direction to trade, as it has entry prices and stop prices for both long and short positions depending on which one you personally decide to trade. Alrighty, interesting morning for me. My wife came in my office and kicked my power, whatever you call that thing, the power cord, or it's the island, whatever, where everything's plugged in, and turned off my computer, and I lost everything. And then when I tried to bring back everything up, Bookmap would not. It completely like reset, and with all my charts and everything, and then I contacted the Bookmap guys and they said your files are corrupted, so I had to build my entire workspace again. So that was fun, bringing in all these add-ons and everything else. So it's been quite a morning so far. So I'm trying to recover, missed some trades as usual. There was a bunch of activity here in NASDAQ as this moved up. You can see just these stop runs, which are usually retail trader puking. Hold on, let me find my drawer here. So you had some buys to start the day, and then buy stops, buy stops, buy stops, and this turned into a Dumb and Dumber. This was actually an inflection zone. This is the trade I missed, but I pretty much would have. I think I would have stopped out because of the way I stop, the way I trail my stops. So my original stop on this event, I'll show you this area that I would have shorted. My stop was up here, but then when you get the new event, I trail my stop to the most recent event, and I believe this would have stopped out off of this event. So this looks like a bullish event right now. This market's kind of in limbo here. As far as where we're at, I didn't take this trade either because I use this is called Algo Guy. I call it in my room. It's an exponential moving average ribbon. Blue's short term, red's long term. So I take certain trades only if this is an agreement. This is kind of right on top of each other, as you can see. So you can pretty much take trades either way. This is. I was waiting for the number to come out, number came out, and it's still just chopping around here. But as an overall thesis, these markets are in pretty important areas here, as you can see. So this is NASDAQ. This was a whopper 10-day market profile composite area where you take the days and you merge them together. And yesterday I had trouble here, opened up, bounced off the point of control pretty much, and got back out, accepted back in this right to the other side. That's what you expect. when the market accepts in the market profile composite, and then closed right there, gapped up today, and once again failed at this whopper. So the next move, I believe, whether it's back in here or back in here, will elicit the bigger move, would be my guess. But this thing drew these are Ludwig levels. I'll post this in the room in here in a second with everything that I use. I should just do that right now. So this is everything that I use in here, and this is a drawing tool if you want to try it out. It's in beta mode. You can get it. You got to download this guide or bring up this guide, and you got to contact Andre and Bookmap, and it'll set you up with the tool. So you'll see this zone drawing thing on my chart. Automatically draws its own zones now to the event. It's awesome. Can't do without it. It actually was down yesterday, and I was just scrambling. It's brutal trying to use the old tool once you have this thing. Here's my course and my spreadsheets and zones you can get if you can't be part of my room. If you're part of my room, you get the stuff for free, the spreadsheet and the zones. But if you can't,
NQ iceberg sell NQ 150 contracts.
If you can't, you can go here and pay a subscription for those things. Here's my website, email, and then these are all the things that I use in my trading. Obviously, Bookmap. I keep getting emails from people. Do I need Bookmap to trade your style? Absolutely. That's 100% the Bookmap and the SI indicator, the complete core of my trading. Bookmap, this is what you need for the download, for the SI indicator, Apex, we'll talk about that later. Spot Gamma, I'm doing a webinar with them today. I'll post that link here in a second. Tick Strike, which I need to get going here, get some torture going. Trader Sync, that's how you can document trades, and Ludwig levels is what I was talking about. And here's some reviews of the website. So let me post this in the YouTube. And let's post this in here. And I will post this. Sorry, you can hear all these people coming in the Discord. I mute it all the time, and it just never sticks. So you're gonna have to deal with it for now. Sorry. Let me post this in here. And then quickly, let me post this is the Spot Gamma webinar today. I sent out a mass email yesterday. I think they're sending something out too. But this is for that. Later on, it's at 12 o'clock Central. That's in there. And post it in here. All right, there we go. Now we can potentially trade. All right, so you just heard this sell ice fire off, and Nasdaq's going nuts. There's nothing going on with the yes. We'll look at the overall stuff there as far as coming up with the thesis. But here's Nasdaq, kind of just right at the top of this ugly looking balance here. Well, I don't know what that color is. So again, I mean, you can even bring it down here, but try to break out once. Looked like it was going to die. Held. I mean, so these markets, in my opinion, would have been killed already. But the Russell and the Dow, even though Russell didn't have a great day yesterday, Russell and Dow look much stronger, and they've been holding these markets up for some reason. So I mean, obviously that's the majority of the stocks, but the highest weighted stocks are the Mag 7, and those have not been doing well. So you can see YM as well. Both of these markets look completely different than Nasdaq and ES. So something's going to give here soon, one way or another. But you can see we're kind of in the middle of nowhere, in between zones. We're in between those market profile composites, so I don't really have a strong opinion. I'm a day trader. I will trade long and short setups. But if I have my thesis fit the volume events that are hitting the market that are real, this is obviously real-time information that's happening, then I will trade bigger in one direction. Depending if it's matching my thesis. I don't really have an opinion here. Like I said, I'll have an opinion once this either gets back inside this guy, and this is such an important market profile composite, then it should get to the other side. That's what usually happens. It didn't yesterday, and I told you. So when something should happen and it doesn't, then you expect multiples the other way. So this got in here yesterday, it couldn't hold, so what do you expect? A big move down, and that's exactly what happened. So here we go again. Is this going to get in here? If it does, then you expect that. If it fails again, then I would expect a whopper move down. But as of right now, you gotta. This looks like it's not going to accept in there, and then ES, same thing, pretty important here. So this is a multi-day composite, came down, came close to that point of control, now it's trying to get back out of here. So if it does, then I would expect to move to the top of this, 95. I actually had not had a chance to look at spot gammas stuff today, but I definitely want to keep this hero up so you can see this move down. It affected ES too, but it affected NASDAQ more than ES for some reason. You can see this move in the hero. So this is what we'll be going over in the spot gamma webinar later. I'm watching this closely, starting to use some of this, pay attention to this with the real-time volume events. Not an expert at it by any means. That's why we're doing the webinars and stuff to learn this. But you can see notionally, we've talked about it in a prior webinar with him, and we'll talk about it again today. If you see notionally a move of $1 billion or more, it's important. So you can see this went from plus 400 million to negative 2 points. So this is a 3 billion notional move. And this is interesting too, and we'll talk to him about this later too, because I've been seeing this tendency as well. You see ES sold off a little bit, so this was like 10 points. It wasn't much, and it's kind of just spinning here. So it basically withstood the options. So this is just one. These are big players in the market. They're not the entire market, obviously. These are options dealers that have to hedge with futures. Well, these options dealers hedged, huge move. This is like 3 billion notional, and ES is kind of spinning in place. What does that tell me? If this thing turns up, ES is going to rip off the page. NASDAQ responded more violently to that move at the time. That that sell-off was there, but again, ES is for ES, and I here's the Mag 7 too. That kind of sold off, and that's turning up now. NDX is turning up. Russell is turning up. So this looks like this could be a rip if this turns around. And what I found interesting too, we'll talk about again with him today, the difference between this is showing you puts and calls put together, but when you split these out, you can see that move. Calls, there was no call selling. Some entity or whatever bought a ton of puts.
S&P
right?
stocks stopped by ES.
Here we go.
507 contracts.
And here we go. All right, so my thesis is long. I mean, I'm not loving this. Is an area that I would still short. This is an inflection zone. This is what I was telling you guys can get a subscription to in my room. You get it for free. This is still an important zone. I would take a short if this new volume event turns out to be a short event. We're going to see. If not, I'm taking longs for other strategies I have, and we'll go over these strategies because Algo Guy is bullish right now. So you can see it just pulled. Now you have, it was bearish, pulled the blue above the red. That this is the short term. The red's the long term.
Gold Iceberg sell GC 150 contracts.
When you see this, you get the algos that jump in on the cross. So you got that wind at your sails too as a long. So we're going to see. So again, these are just thesis of what I think is happening. And then I use this stuff for the real-time information to place my trades and know my areas, right? So if this turns out to be a bullish setup, there's a couple different strategies I can take here. So these are, you can see this liquidity up here. So that's one of them. So these are my trading strategies that I take and teach in my room, and there's many more to come here. So the ones I would take here is a blind ATR retest, confirm, and the lick as of right now. If this turns into a bullish setup, take licks, take trades and directions of major long-term liquidity, and it has to be a retest failure. We'll go over that, and the same with the bark. And here's the algo guy. I use algo guy for confirmation as my filter for lick too. So meaning, if this market gets an ATR above here, that's just from watching thousands and thousands and thousands of these. I've determined if the market's able to push an ATR outside of the volume event, that makes it bullish versus bearish. So I actually better get this in. And then we have a spreadsheet. You can get access to this too through my room or the subscription. This thing cannot trade without it. I can't. So you plug in your zone of the event. And here's the automatic zone jar. That saves me so much time coming in here. Like I said yesterday, it went down and it was brutal. So now it's still in beta mode, but you still have to adjust it sometimes. But this actually looks like it probably started. Just trying to see where this. Yeah, that looks right. Actually, you can go one tick with this guy. Get in your little lips to move it. So I got 8150 to 8050 is the zone for this volume event. So then I go to my spreadsheet, plug that one in, or those values in, 8150 to 8050. 45. plug in the current ATR. So this is a 5-minute Wilder's ATR. It's just telling me the current volatility. It means it's rotating about 4 points every 5 minutes, which is very, 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 very important. All right. So now to make this a bullish setup, that's all in this spreadsheet. So for me, if I'm going to trade long off of this setup, I need to see the validation price of 85.50. Did not get there yet. So I don't know if this is a bullish or bearish setup yet. On the flip side, I would take, if this area fails, I would take an IZZY trade. What's an IZZY trade? Well, these are one of my important areas that I look for in my trading. So I know the area is important, but I don't just blindly trade into these areas, right? If you don't have the Bookmap information and the SI information, you're just going to have to, right? You're just going to have to say, okay, that's an area on the chart, I'm going to take a short. Well, I know my areas, and you can use these for any areas that you deem important, right? These are my important areas, one of my important areas. I know we're here, but I don't do anything unless this turns. I know this is a good resistance area, but unless that volume event turns bearish, I'm not doing anything, right? So you can use whatever you find important. I say the same stuff every week. I don't care what it is. Bollinger Bands, Fibonacci, any areas that you, moving average crosses, whatever you're using is fine. You know, if you think it's important, make sure you get the confirmation on stuff that's happening right now to prove that it's important, right? So, or the area is important. So we're going to wait and see what happens here. If this does move out of here, I will short this area. I'll short this event. I'm just trying to see if I do it aggressively. Yeah, I'd still do it aggressively. So this moves out of here. So that's my IZZY trades are usually, IZZY zones are fade trades, right? So this market gapped up into this zone. Here's the volume event. I would take that aggressively, meaning I wouldn't wait for a retest failure. So I've just noticed, again, from watching thousands of these, the best entries are waiting. If it's, you know, is able to get that ATR, come back, retest, and then gets back out of here, those are very high percentage trades. There's certain strategies where I don't wait for this type of move, and that's an IZZY trade most times. There's our exceptions, we may go over that, but IZZY trades, the minute it breaks the ATR, I get it, right? So I might not have to worry about that here anyway. So if this touches 85.50, this is a bullish setup. So let's see what happens here. Did I just lose my internet? I don't think so. All right. Hold on here. I really hope I didn't lose my internet. Looks like it's working. Okay. All right, so I'm just waiting to see what happens here. NASDAQ, I didn't. Let's see what this was here. This was the sell ice that came in. It was only 150. You know, I don't know if you want to be using 150 today per se, because it's there's been so many events and they've been over 150. We talk about increasing your thresholds on certain days, just like volatility increases on certain days. You need to, you know, if you keep seeing 150s, you don't want to be, if you see, you know, 10 150s or more in the first half hour, you don't want to be using 150 as your thresholds. I have certain thresholds for each of these markets that I deem important to trade off of, right? So NASDAQ's 150. ES, I need to see 700 ICE to trade off at 500 stops. NASDAQ is 150 ICE, 150 stops. And then the zone drawer automatically draws to those thresholds.
Stock by NQ, 288 contracts.
All right, well, it doesn't matter if I would trade that or not. Here's a new event, so on to the new event. Automatically drawn for me. And that started up here, so this one needs to be adjusted. So the stops couldn't have been here, right? Because these prices already traded. Granted, someone could just drop stops in, but that's unlikely. So I want to go.
Gas stock by NG, 245
I
contracts.
got the net gas number coming on here too. So I want to take this up higher where this would have started. Please don't freeze on me. What's going on here? That's not good. Hold on. This is not good. Let's give this a second. I hope this Bookmap doesn't crash. Like I said, I had to bring in everything. All right, there you go. So first of all, this is a bullish setup in ES. So if we get a retest failure, I am going long. You may be saying, why aren't you going long now? Well, my strategies don't dictate going long on a bark. I wait for a blind ATR retest confirmed. That's just what I wait for. Does that mean it has to come back and retest this? No, but it's very, very likely, and we actually have a trade for that occurrence. It's called a reversion trade. That's this part of the spreadsheet. I'm not going to really dive into I don't really do these on the webinars because it's just hard for me to keep track of. But if you're doing the 180 reversion, so I've again, from watching a million of these things, I've just noticed it's at least 70% or more of the time the market will come back to the zone. Whether it's a 1 ATR, a 2 ATR, 3 ATR, or more, that depends. But usually the sweet spots for equities are the ones and the twos. So I am waiting. I'm not taking the reversion trade, but it's already heading back here. I hope I don't jinx my room because I know a lot of those guys are taking these trades. But if it does this, then I'm taking a long. I'm taking a bark long, and let's see if there's and a liquidity long. So you see this long-term liquidity. So those are magnets. That's not meaning someone wants to sell a ton up here. They do, but it's not resistance. It's they want to sell. They're going to get this market up to this liquidity because that's just how it works. Because these markets are completely manipulated, but we get to see what they're doing. So instead of complaining how manipulated the markets are, join them. If you can't beat them, join them. So if we get a retest here, I will trade this. Let me put an alert here just in case I'm not on the screen. Enable notifications. So if this comes back, I'll know it retested the zone, and I'll be ready to take a long. There is a chance this thing rips off the page, and it doesn't come back. But that's my rules for that particular strategy. So I'm going to bring this back to total. So this is interesting what's going on here. Like I said, this hero got crushed. Somebody was buying a ton of puts. Dealers had to turn around and sell futures, right? Well, yes, whoever, this is just one entity. Somebody in here absorbed the ES, and it didn't really drop much. It dropped 10 points, but it didn't drop huge for what should have happened for that move in the options, right? So that's, and like I said, once this turns up, you might see a rip. So I don't really consider this a rip. I think something like that's going to happen, but we'll see. I'm ready to go long if I get my criteria for this zone. Head over to NASDAQ. Try to freeze up on me there.
At 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time to get the EIA natural gas change. The forecast -107 BCF on the price, 10 BCF.
All right, let me adjust this zone a little bit. You got the natural gas number coming out here in a couple minutes too, if you want to trade that or watch for that. All right, so for some reason this thing's freezing on my computer when I'm trying to scroll on this side or my Bookmap. That's not good. That's not good at all. So I may just have to eyeball it because that's the second time I went to scroll. See how it's like freezing here. Let me do this. Let me see if this helps. I'm just praying I don't crash this Bookmap because I had to redo everything. Hold on here. So I just don't. I actually contacted them because I got an alert earlier. You may get this too. You have to change your allocation settings. Let's see here. Performance, and that's max. I don't know what else to do here so it doesn't freeze on me. Like I said, I just don't want it to crash. I just did that. I don't even know what this is here. I know I had this on something. Let me see if they responded here. No, sure didn't. It's not what I want to be doing while I'm trying to trade, obviously. Let's see. I don't even really know what this stuff is, so I'm just going to be careful trying to scroll these zones because it freezes every time I touch it. So I would make the top of that zone basically there, 81.50 to 93.75. Still sitting in the zone. Go to your spreadsheet. 59.93. I think that's what I said. 75. Bottom of the zone is 81.50. ATR is up to 24.72. Just means Nasdaq's rotating about 25 points every 5 minutes. So again, I don't know what I'm going to do here off of this event. One, I want to see what areas we're in for potential trades. You can see this is an Izzy zone. It already failed there earlier. I missed that trade. And here we are again.
Iceberg by NG, 158 contracts.
So if this fails out of here, I'm going to take the short aggressively like I was going to do with the ES if that event didn't turn bullish, which it did. So that's off the table. But this one is still in the event. If this moves out of here, I'm going to short it aggressively. If it moves above here, algo guy's clearly bullish, so I will take longs off of that event. Barks and licks, just like I'm going to do with ES. So we'll see. I'm going to put this order in case this does fail. So that entry price is 53 based on the zone, based on the volatility. I'm risking 70 points on this trade, and I know everyone, not everyone, traders that don't really know what they're talking about scoff at that. Well, I only like to risk 20 points when I put on as a trade. Guys, this is adjusting to the volatility and the size of the volume event. So I don't impose my will on the market and change what I want to risk in points. It'll change my size based on what I'm risking per trade, right? So if this ATR was at 12, well, then I could put on 6, right? It's not. It's at 24.7, whatever that just was, right? So I can I can round up to 4. So this is what you change. You don't impose, if you're trading this method, you don't impose, which you should be at least paying attention to these volume events. You don't change what you want to risk. And those of you that are using static stops, I'm telling you, it's not going to work out for you in the end, because these markets, the volatility changes from day to day. And you're going to, in the ES, somebody like, oh, I like risking 2 points. Well, great. When the ATR is 3 or 4, you're going to be okay. When the ATR is 7, 8, 9, you're risking 2 points. You're going to get stopped down on a sneeze, on any kind of whipsaw. So, which that's all these markets do with these algos. So it's not the way you want to be trading this. Is what I'm telling you. All right. So natural gas is coming out here. Keep this hero up. Still have not retested this zone in ES. Remember, I'm going to go long here.
NQ Iceberg sell NQ, 155 contracts.
Draw 117 BCF, draw of 117 BCF. That's lower than the expected draw of 107 BCF.
All right, so that was threshold. I was basically right in this zone. Let's see, I may move this zone up a little bit. So this is kind of a delayed double whammy. These are one of my 6 distinct setups that I trade off of, that part of my trading course. Let's show you this here real quick. I show it every week on this, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about, because the newer traders are like, what's this guy talking about? Double whammy. So double whammy is the dumb money puke. That's stop runs are usually the retail trader puke into the waiting hands of sell ice. So this is delayed. It's usually on top of each other. There was a little sell ice here, but that wasn't threshold. But this is pretty much in the same area. So, hold on 1 second here.
Dollar yen, pools, deepen, markdown, B401, at 144.135.
All right, so I'm gonna actually.
Downside, natural gas after that report.
So that's the bottom. I'm just trying to see this zone, and I'm just gonna make this one big zone so that you can. This is how you want to draw your zones, right? That started there. You can see the spike that was on that buy bubble, and then spike more here. Spike more here. So that's that price. So right now, but the problem is I don't want to really be scrolling much here because it keeps freezing on me. Don't freeze. There you go. And now you just follow it across and see if more came in. Now when it flat, I have mine set at reset mode, right? So that the icebergs will draw for a minute no matter what's happening. If you see flat line, I mean as far as the sub chart, if you see flat lining, nothing else is coming in. So that's not, you don't really include the prices that are out. If they say this moves out of here, I'm not including those prices because that's not part of the sell iceberg. So you see this is not increasing. It definitely increases at the end here. See right there. So I would move this up some, I think. Let's see. At least to there. So you see that spike there. I'd move it up to that price. Please don't freeze on me. Well, let's just see where the final came in. And then more right there. Whoops. Right there. So up to 94.25 is the top of the zone. So this is a separate event, but it was basically right on top of that stop run, so I'm just going to use it as one big zone. And I'm just going to change the top of my zone here. 94 quarter. It's 2 ticks. And I'm able to incorporate that sell ice too. So some of the stuff's subjective, and whether you're going to combine zones, so on and so forth. But most of it, I think this is an easy one. Where you get trouble is actually like the beginning of the day when I was eyeballing it, when I was scrambling to get my Bookmap up and running. You know, there was event. Well, what do you do there? I mean, do you sit there and make this a 100 tick zone, right, or 70 tick zone, 70 point zone? Well, there was buy ice and stops in here, so I was going to just trade off of that. I just missed the trade. But the point is that some of the stuff is subjective when you get events like this. It doesn't happen that often where you get event, but you got to make decisions. And the more you watch these and understand them, then you can make more informed decisions. But as far as this one, this is not a difficult decision, right? He had the stop run, 2 ticks higher, some sell ice, same area. I'm trading off of this area, whether it breaks or does that. So now I just wait.
We have posted the weekly EIA natural gas report on the feed for all those interested.
As far as
US natural gas futures extend gains after the series got 5% after the EIA reports a bigger than expected storage draw.
can't bring this up. I was going to show you guys the. Forgot how to do it. Products. Anyway, this is actually my course, but there's a different way of looking at it here. Hold on. Forget it, I can't bring it up. It's giving me problems like everything else today. Alright, so anyway, I have 6 distinct setups, so this is a double whammy. Dumb money puke into the waiting hands of sell ice. So the smart money are the icebergs. Those are the bigger players that are trying to hide their orders. That's what icebergs are, right? Because if they put the big orders in the order book, the market runs away. These algos run away from it. You can see this algo just completely playing games in here, right? See this? So this is the epitome of spoofing, right? Spoofing is supposed to be illegal. They do it all day anyway, right? These guys don't want fills. They're just trying to screw around with the market, right? As it comes down there, they move it. As it comes up there, they move it. That's how you know it's spoofing, right? If they wanted to get filled, they would just sit there, right? So I do not pay attention to this liquidity, obviously. It's just games, and this is what the majority of the market is. That's why when we put trades on, we have specific rules to get the stops outside of the events. So when they start playing their games,
Iceberg sell NQ 172 contracts.
you don't get whipsawed out of your trade. So here's more sell ice. It's still in this zone. So let's see where we're at here. If I'm going to short this up here, still in this Izzy zone. So I'm going to short this. I got to. If it breaks, if this moves higher, like I said, algo guy's bullish, and I'm going to take barks and licks to the upside. So I just want to see where we're on the lugs here. Nothing's really happening, so I'm just sitting here, just spinning. So ES is at its lug. Did we not get a retest of that zone? Nope, not yet. You can see the tick strike firing off here. Don't know why it always does that on me. There we go. So, the market's rallying. So remember, this is just one player. Some days it's the biggest, most important player in the market. Other days there's other entities in here, and it's not having that big of an effect. This definitely is not. It's starting to turn back down. Like we said, somebody was selling puts here, or buying puts earlier. So we'll keep an eye on it like this too. So we'll talk more about this today in the webinar with him. There's so many strategies. We were talking last time, like if the market rallies and you see it's just put selling versus call buying, that's really good information. Kind of like when you see a rally and you see a stop run, a buy stop run, well, that's usually not initiative buying, right? That's really good information. Like if you get at a resistance area and you see stops, then that many times, majority of the time, they fail, right? So it's called we call it the dumb and dumber, the dumb money puke, right? Well, it's kind of the same with this stuff. If you see this hero making highs, or the market making highs, but it's just put selling versus call buying, that could be the end of that move type of thing, right? We talked about it last time. We'll talk about it again with him today. But just really important, interesting stuff that you can combine this information with your real-time buying events. So these markets are seriously just spinning in place here. Let's see. All right, so I will not short if this market gets up to my validation price for a long, which is in the spreadsheet here. Just make sure you stay on top of your ATRs, 24.7. I'm sorry, 0.07. So if this gets up to the validation price of 18 quarter, I can't put that short on that I was considering the Izzy short, and that price is the same price as the validation price for a long. So 18 quarter is the price that I'm looking for if I'm going to go long this event, and then my short would be DQ'd, disqualified. So let's see what happens here.
Wheat Icebergs sells EW 170 contracts.
Alright, I guess we're going to have to trade some wheat. Wheat actually has been very active lately. I was short there yesterday. It was a decent trade. Let's see what's going on here. So guys, this is a perfect example. I tell my room every single day, multiple times a day. This is why you want to be watching other markets, because when these markets like ES are just spinning in place, you're watching paint dry, you end up doing something stupid because you're trying to force trades because you got to pay your rent and you got to make money. These volume events are these markets all react the same way because these are trap traders. That's what we're looking for, right? So as long as you know the thresholds to your markets, you're doing yourself a disservice just staring at the crappy ES all day long or the NASDAQ, right? So branch out, start watching a couple other markets. It's the same patterns in all of these futures markets, right? So here's the sell ice that just came in, 210. This looks like it's actually one tick. Here's where it spiked, and you can see it on the on chart there too. Spike. I don't think. Let's see if you got to spread these out sometimes. That was all right here. A little bit more came in up to here. So I'll have this as a one tick zone. 32 quarter down to 32. All right, so that's that zone. So that's the first step, right? You get your zone drawn. You should already know this other stuff before the open, the market you're watching, see where you're at for bigger picture stuff. So this is pretty much outside this zone. There's no Izzy or anything to do. I could have taken an Izzy long there if I wouldn't have had an event. There may have been, I just didn't. I think there was actually, I didn't hear it. Actually, I guarantee this was an event because every time I miss an event, they're winners. So that would have been there. Let's see if there was an event there this morning. And what do you know? Right there. So that was that Izzy zone. This is the trade. Well, it might have violated here actually, depending on the ATR. But this is the pattern, right? When I talk about these markets retesting these areas, that one came back there. But I probably would have done anything off of that zone is what I'm saying. So here's your new event. Algo guy is, I believe, should be bullish. Let's see. It's still bearish right now. So no trades for me to the long side yet until that thing pulls. I could trade this to the short side, but it's pretty much an ATR above there. So I just, I'm not going to focus on wheat per se in this webinar. But I just want to give you examples of other markets that are conforming to these events. That's all they do. All right, it'd be nice if something happened here. Let's check out some other markets. Crude, I missed this one. This was a stop run. 2 stop runs. Let's trade some crude. I didn't even hear this. So again, guys, you got to get this alerts up because I hear things, but I don't hear them. So this is telling you, this will print out everything that happened and the time. So in case you missed something, you just glance over like, oh, I didn't hear that NASDAQ, or I didn't hear that soy meal, or whatever, right? So you go here, file, alerts, and that'll pop up for you. So in case you don't hear it, hear it. Let's see where we're at. If you got questions, not really much has happened here, but if you got questions, throw them in. I don't really see anything as far as my inflection zones on this particular event. Let's see where we are on the lugs. Maybe this is a slug or something. Crude. No, really nothing here. Nothing as far as my other areas that I would potentially trade. So you can see ES is struggling at the red lug here, and that's not surprising because that's why we use these things, because they're so powerful for support and resistance. Support and resistance coming up with a thesis. So my thesis today, just looking at lugs, right? Say I come up with a thesis based on the market, based on the structure, the bar chart stuff I showed you, based on market profile, and then based on the lugs, right? So market profile was telling you that it's bullish. It drew new lugs. When it draws new lugs, it should hold the new directional yellow, which is kind of like the point of control for the lugs, and prior red. If it does that, then you expect red. There you go, went to red, right? So if it draws new lugs, I would look at it the same way to come up with a thesis. There was an example here, I believe it was crude that, no, that wasn't here today. Let's see. Gold, no. So anyway, you can come up with a thesis with the lugs, and you can see here's NASDAQ sitting at this red lug as well. So what I can actually take here, because I didn't see this earlier, remember I said I was going to short an ISI? Well, I'm going to take a slug trade too. So these are important resistance areas, like I said. We have the double whammy right here. If this fails, I'm taking that short, the slug short. That's this. Stop run, a major lug, right? And the ISI short. As long as this doesn't violate, I'll come back to crew here in a second, as long as this doesn't touch the validation or invalidation for a short, that price is in here. And then we already went over this. This is the invalidation price is 18.25. Just keep adjusting your ATR until I adjust this until I actually get filled on the trade. And that hopefully we're going to have on the zone drawing tool, it's going to have the ATR built in automatically, and it's going to adjust automatically. So that'll be awesome. But until this hits 18, I can still short this. So I'm going to get these orders in now in case this thing starts to die and I miss it. My entry is at 54. I could put on 4. I'm going to put on the ISI trade strategy and the slug trade strategy. Short. Let me get these set up here. Still quite a ways away from there, but this trade sucks, I can tell you that. 44. All right, so those are working. So as long as it doesn't hit this invalidation price of 18, I'm going short. This comes back if this area fails. So keep an eye on that. We got guys in my trade room praying to God for the market to break. I don't think you have to be that extreme, but yes, it is an ISI, it is a slug, it is a double whammy. Well, double whammy is the SI setup, but yes, it is an ISI and a slug that we talked about. So let's see what happens here. Still have not gotten a retest of this zone in ES. But you see, I'm ready to trade either way. I'm a day trader, right? I'm ready to go long. If we do this, if NASDAQ were to rip up to 18, come back, I would go long, and I'm going to go short on different strategies. So that's what you need to have if you're, you want to make it in this business. You need to have strategies with rules, right? And then every time you take them, or every time you see your setup, you take it, right? So now we'll go into the rants a little bit here, then we'll answer some questions. So the trading, I didn't have this up. Trading in the zone document here. Let's see. Trading strategies. I go over this pretty much every week, right here. Right. So, if you have an edge, this is straight out of Trading in the Zone. By the way, get the book. Great book. You have to internalize this stuff. Anything can happen. You don't need to know what's going to happen next to make money, nor do you know. That's why you have strategies with rules, and you put on your trades, and you let the probabilities play out. If you have an edge over the long run, like a casino, you will make money, right? They know that over the long run, based on math, that's their edge of the games, that just because some dude comes in and waxes them for $1 million that night, over the year, they will make money. It's the same with trading strategies if you have an edge. That's the key. Hold on, guys. so the biggest thing is with traders, they don't know if they have an edge. They find something, and this is the other thing. They bounce around from thing to thing to thing to thing. Something works for a couple days, a week, and then they're gung ho about it. It's what's the newest magical indicator. Then it stops working, and then they abandon it. Right? That's the great thing about this stuff and about my trade room and what I'm doing. There is no question, and you can ask anyone that's in there and anyone that's been watching these, even if you're not in my trade room, if you've been watching these things for any length of time, this is, again, almost 25 years of trading. This is the best edge I have ever seen in my career, right? So you don't have to question if you're going to trade these in this system, in this methodology. You don't have to question whether you have an edge. That is 80% of the battle. I literally tell my room this every day. Then all you got to do, if you have the edge, then you've got to work on yourself. Work on yourself, taking the trade. If it's lost 3 times in a row, putting on the next one, not falling into the recency bias, right? Where you're like, oh my God, none of this stuff works. There's no question it works, right? That's the key. You just keep putting the trade on now. So if you have specific strategies, then you're good to go, right? So I know this is the edge. Then I apply this edge to my areas. These are my important areas that I will trade off of. Again, they could be anything you want them to be that you think is important. Just make sure you get the volume event, aka the edge there. That's it. That's my trick. All right. It's just, these markets are just spinning in place. What did I just do there? Hold on. See, I don't want to include it because I keep forgetting this. I'm going to talk to them about this too. This should be default off, not default on. So let me guess, I just screwed this thing up. It's a good trade though so far. Being sarcastic. All right, I don't know why that's spinning in place, because everything I touch today, technology-wise, just falls apart. That's why. Hold on. Let's see if you guys got questions. How to set those white and black balls on Bookmap. It sweeps exactly what it is. So I have mine set at white and black. I'm colorblind, right? So I change a lot of my color stuff. So why is this not? Hey, all right, that's back. So here's the settings for that. Sweeps. I have mine set at whatever the stop event threshold is, because I want it. It helps me draw my zones too. Even though this is automatic zone jar, it helps pinpoint the zone. And then you come down here, click on that. Then I have mine black for aggressive sellers, white for aggressive buyers. You can make these obviously any color you want. I just can't see certain colors. And then also for my on-chart stuff, that's this. I don't even know if this actually carried over because I had to bring everything else in. I had to redo this. Hold on. Yeah, so I got buys at yellow, sells at black. And then I have my stops at orange or red, whatever color that is. I'm colorblind, obviously. So, and that just helps me, because there's a lot of colors on this chart, right? So it's really hard for me to see certain colors. So that's why you can do however you want to do them. This trade, NASDAQ is literally in like a 8-point range for half hour. I don't know what's going on here, but all right, let's go back to crude while we're waiting here, so I don't miss a trade. So this was a stop run. This was from 85 down to 79. I think we already covered that. Let's see here. Can't remember if I put this in. No. What am I doing? 69, 85 to 79. ATR on here is say 0.21. All right, so to make this a long setup, you need to see the validation price of 06. To make it a short setup, 69.58. This came close. Does not get to 06 yet though, so I don't know what this event is. That's step one. See what Algo guy is doing. Algo guy's trying. It just pulled bearish again, so I can't take short. I cannot take long setups for my barks and my licks, but I can take short setups. So if this turns into a bearish setup, I will go short. Obviously, this market is extremely bearish right now. I mean, I don't love the short down here where I would trade double size, but we've been talking about this stuff for days in my trade room. I mean, for leading up to this. So this is just textbook what happened here, right? So this was a balance area. Tried to break out. These are the best trades out there, right? Failed breakout. Tried to hold the high volume node, then it broke down out of that balance, gone. Broke down out of that balance, gone. So down here, I don't, it's obviously a bearish market, but this can easily rip back up to these areas, and it probably will because that's what crude does. So it's bearish, but I don't love the short here. Like if this were to rip back up into these zones, this one, which would be the bottom of this balance area, or this one, then I would love a short. See what I'm saying? So I am bearish this market, but I don't love shorts here to trade bigger size. And you can see this is just bouncing in between these prior. The farther these zones go back, the more important they are as far as things that have happened there and continue to remain, excuse me, remain strong. So let's see what these were back here. So this is an area, buying tail, directional conviction out of here. And you can keep going back too. A lot of times when you draw these, you can just keep going back and stuff still happened here. This gapped up this day. This was a buying tail. I could probably still find more stuff. So that's why I use these zones, because they're very, very important. So again, you get these zones free in my room. You can draw them yourself too. If you just don't want to draw them every day, they're here for you. Or you can get them on the website, scottpulcinitrader.org. All right, so let's see what happens here. It'd be nice to get traded in any of these markets. That would be great. I'm only watching about 20 of them. Do you think something would happen in any of them? It's not bode well for the book or the spot gamma webinar later. I'm hoping there's some trade and we can actually trade off of the hero and get his take on stuff with the volume events. That's the whole goal, but it's not looking real promising right now. All right, so that was the sweep during the number, and then looks like more buy ice came in. Doesn't look like threshold though, so I'm not gonna even mess with that right now. All right, so what price does this need to touch to make this a bearish event? I forgot, 58. 10 more ticks. Any questions? Let's see. No questions. The audio's low. Someone said that in my room too. I don't. It's something with this broadcast. If anybody knows this, I don't know what to do here. I don't want to screw it up. This is the Bookmap or the YouTube broadcast thing. I don't know why it's not picking up. Oh, is this it here? How about now? Is that better? Somebody let me know. Bueller. Anyone in my trigger, does it sound better? Or did everyone just fall asleep? I don't blame you. Alright, thanks for the input. Alright, so waiting for that. Nasdaq's starting to die. I have my shorts working down there at 54, I believe they were. Yes, I'm still waiting for a retest of the zone. Sound is about the same. I don't know what to do here. I don't know why. I don't know. Again, I don't want to start messing with that because I'll screw something up. That's the way my day's going with technology. Guys, it's the perfect time to ask questions. Like, you get me, if you do mentoring with me, it's $350 an hour. So take advantage. Unless you want to come, you want to do one-on-one, that's fine. But there's nothing going on. Ask questions, especially if you're new. I'm not just talking to my room. I'm talking to all the newer Bookmap peeps on here. Take advantage if you don't understand something. Thanks, Space Cowboy. Thank you, Michael. I don't know what else to do. I'll talk to Bruce going into next week. Again, I don't want to mess with it. I guess just turn up your volume for now. Holy cow, is this bad? So let's see, I think we got a rare retest of the zone, being facetious. Let's see. Did I put this in? I mean, we're going to trade some wheat, I guess, because nothing's happening. I did not put the zone in. 32 quarter to 32. Nothing wrong with wheat. Again, the money's just as green in here as it is in anything else, right? But I know people, like, especially in these webinars, complain, I don't watch wheat. I don't want to see wheat. It doesn't matter. Whatever I'm showing you can be applied to any of these futures markets. That's the point, right? It just happens to be wheat right now. So to make that a long setup, needed to touch 34.50. 34.50 to the tick. So this is not surprising. It touched the 1 ATR and came back to the zone. So now, here's your ATR retest failure. No, this is what I was worried. Remember, this was not bullish. So I can't take that. So Barks, I need algo guy in my favor. I need the blue above the red, so I can't take that trade. So sorry, wheat. Nothing to do there. Is there anything in soybeans today? Yeah, there you go. You had 3 things of sell ice here. 149, 139, another 100. What was basically that? Spiked up to there. 1306. This is probably the worst trade I've ever seen on these webinars. Not overall. I've seen way worse trade overall, but I'm saying on the webinar. Where's the? Oh, you know why I can't change this one, because it. What I can do, I'll do this. So the great thing about this tool too, so I can manually draw this with the tool. Let's just get this on here, and then we'll adjust it. I just want to, because it is coming back to the zone right now, so there may be a trade here in soybeans. Where did this trigger? This is good to see drawing the zones too, right? So this is clearly where, see where this starts to spike? That's this price here. And just to make sure we got all of those events. So that one was that first one.
The US to sell $50 billion in 3-year notes on December 11th to settle on December 15th, and the US to sell $37 billion in 10-year notes on December 11th to settle on December 15th.
The third one was still inside here, so that's the zone I would use. 1306.
And the US to sell $75 billion in 3-month bills on December 11th to settle on December 14th, and the US to sell $68 billion in 6-month bills on December 11th to settle on December 14th.
ATRs, of course, I don't have that chart. Hold on.
And the US to sell $21 billion in 30-year bonds on December 12th to settle on December 15th.
0.91. See what algo guy looks like in here. It's the one chart I don't have up. Algo guy is pretty much on top of each other. Let's see. Yeah. I mean, I would consider it bullish. It hasn't really pulled, so nothing really to do there either, because it's a short setup. So I can't do anything on that one either. But actually, I could, because it was bearish. It's trying to pull across now. If it comes back again, that's just going to stay bearish. So I could short this, and I will short it. See where we're at here. See if this is an easy trade that I missed. No, nothing doing there. All right, so if that comes back, I'll short it, and everything's in the spreadsheet. If that comes back, I'm shorting at 13.75, and my stop goes there, and I could put on 2. I'll round it. That's working. Wow, is this trade bad? I don't know what to say. I mean, what's he guessing at 2 point range for 45 minutes? It's like they're waiting for something. Is there some kind of number coming out today? Let's take a look. That's another part of my room here. I don't see anything here. All right, so let's talk about some of this other stuff then. Stuff that I use. So this is Apex. Here's the code for any sales I have. I think it's 71% off now, but whatever sales they have, that's what you use. So I highly, highly, highly recommend you use these if you're just starting out, if you're working on strategy, say you're trying to incorporate my stuff. There's no reason to be risking your own money. Come in here, you do this, put the code in, and then you get the discount, whatever it is for that month. And then, so the goal here is you want to make, so I do all mine are the 150,000. I think that's the best risk reward. Like you get to the 300, it's not like the 150, you got to make 9,000 before you lose 5,000. If you go to the 300, it's like double the cost, right? And it's just 7,500. So it's only $2,500 more, and you got to make 20 grand. So I don't think that's the best one. I think this is the sweet spot of these. Anyway, so you do these. So because a lot of traders say, oh, I can't trade, it's sim, I don't react the same way. Well, yeah, it's not like you're losing a ton of money if you do these, but you still got to put, whatever the 70% of the 300, what is it, 20, what is that? It's not 21 bucks. Hold on, let's see what it will cost you. So this is good to go over too, because people, they make you, actually it's not taking my name. I don't have this populated. But anyway, whatever it costs, I don't know why I can't do 70% of 300 bucks should be. Oh yeah, so it's 200. It's 210. So it's 90 bucks. It's $210 off, right? So it's $90. So my point is, sorry, yeah, I'm a trader, can't do math. The point is, if you do this, yeah, it's like a sim account because you're not risking full amounts of what you're trading. You're still risking the 90 bucks, so it's still going to hurt if you lose it, right? So you're still going to follow your rules. The thing is, you're practicing for a fraction of the cost. Practice, not a game. Practicing for a fraction of the cost. And if you do well, then you're funded. And this is the one thing I don't like about how they portray this, and they all do it. All these funding companies, because they're popping up out of everywhere. It's not a $150,000 account. You don't lose. You don't get $150,000. You're not able to lose $150,000. If you get funded, it's not $150,000. It's $5,000, right? So. That's if you make 9 grand before you lose 5, and there's a trailing, and this you got to be careful. I did this the other day on one of my accounts, right? So you can be profitable. You could be up. The one I was up like over 5 grand, and I had a drawdown, which you're going to have in trading, and I gave back 5 grand, and I'm out. So I was even for the account, flat, but I blew out of the account because I lost back 5 grand. Once you go live, it's different. We'll go over that too. But point is, if you make 9 before you lose 5. Now, all of a sudden, you got to fund an account. And what you can do, because they have a trade copier now too, so you can get, up to 20 of these. So if you get 20 of them, now you do really have a $100,000 account, and you can link all your trades together. And there's a bunch of people in my room doing this already, right? So you get a $100,000 account. But just know if you do this, this is how much you can lose, right? So and then if you go live, you start out and you got to make the 5 grand or whatever. Once you get 5 grand. If you pull back to the zero line, you're out. But if you make 10 grand and you pull back 5 grand, you're not out, right? If you make 20 and you pull back 5 grand, you're not out. On the trial, you are. That's why it actually makes you a better trader because you're really cognizant of your risk. So you're cognizant of not giving back 5 grand, unless you're me, like I did the other day, and then you give it back. All right, guys. I mean, I'm not kidding you. This is the worst trade I've ever seen, and I've been doing Bookmap webinars for 7 years. This is the worst trade I've ever seen. Ever. These markets have done nothing for an hour. Yeah, look, it was so promising. NASDAQ was going crazy earlier. Any questions on any of that? Let me know. This is just brutal. Spot Gamma, you get the 2 weeks of, I would do the top one. That gives you hero. Speaking of which, I might as well read these. Nothing's going on. I usually read these in the morning in my trade room. I just haven't had a chance because I haven't had a disaster this morning with this. There you go. Here's me. Hi. That's later. Should be a real bang up webinar with the market if it's like this. All right, let's read his notes here. This has been in there for weeks. IV levels are anemic. And then their futures are flat. We've obviously rallied, but and then the zero support and resistance levels. So these are for the SPX, they're not for the futures, right? So you can get the Bookmap Cloud notes, and it shows you the equivalent here, right? So here they all are. So this would be support down here, and I use these in the very basic sense. You know, you can get really technical with this stuff, and he does a lot of times. But I use this, if this were to come down, I use it as a support. So you can see here 45.60 in the SPX is equivalent to 66 in the future. So it's about a 6-point difference. So when he's talking about these, add 6 points for your futures. That's all you got to do, right? Here's your resistance, and all these are the biggest areas. Let's see if I can show this here. This is one of the good thing about this. Let's see. I can't remember. I know that we'll go over all this on the webinar too, because this is really interesting stuff. Like, you can really dive down. I always say though, you know, keep your trading as simple as possible. But this is great information. Like if you're longer term or you want to hold stuff. So this is basically just showing you the biggest options levels where they're at. So that's the 12:15 expiration. This is not showing you the. This is for everything. So it's showing you 12:15 as a huge expiration. This is all the options activity. I was trying to find the actual areas somewhere you can find this, but I can't find it right now. Anyway, let's keep reading this. We'll go over it later. We'll go through the whole website with them. Hopefully, I'm sure we'll be able to, because it's dead. Volatility feels like it's beginning to creep back in as yesterday's intraday move nearly used up the full 45.50 to 4,600 range that has been pinning markets down. However, on a one-day implied move remains very tight, which is basically happening right now. So that we should not expect a large move in today. Boo. Traders are now starting to price in a bit more movement and see the SPX structure below. The green line shows this morning that the money implied volatilities, which are now up towards 15 to 16% versus 8 to 9% a few days ago. So that's at least a little promising, meaning volatility is good for us day traders, obviously. Tomorrow is non-farm payrolls, aka unemployment. There's potential to shake things up. However, any move plays into the weekend, followed by a light day today on Monday. This signals to us that unless non-farm payrolls is a major deviation, we're unlikely to shift out of this 4,500 to 4,600 box before Tuesday a.m. Note though how the implied volatility for expiration is greater in January. Suggest traders are pricing in some noise around the data next week, but see very little risk out in time. And this is always helpful too, these areas. But I'm sure he'll go over some of this. He always does like a general overview. We'll do this on the webinar, but this is where he kind of dives down into the rabbit hole stuff. But he'll talk about that later. All right, this is. Both these markets are just sitting at the lug, and let's see if this drew new lugs. Again, I say lugs, it's short for Ludwig level. I just don't want to say Ludwig level 400 times on the webinar. So we call them the lugs, and she loves it. Someone in the room named them my trade room. She's in my trade room too. So if you ever need to get a hold of her. But she loved the lugs, and it's stuck like glue. So now they're the lugs. All right, looks like we're finally going to get a retest here. So those of you in my room that took the reversion trade or who have the spreadsheet, I don't want to jinx you yet, it's still not down there. So let's just see the prices you would enter that. Again, I'm not doing these trades on these webinars. It's just too hard. Today it would have been that hard because nothing's going on. But the 1 ATR short, which you're just playing for a move back to the zone at 85, you stop out at 90. Obviously that filled. Never stopped out, so you're still in that trade, and see if the 2 would have gotten filled. 2 ATR is 88.75. That did not get to the 2. So all this time and all that happened was the 1 ATR. So, and this is the pattern. That's why that's a trade. Just like anything else, any strategy, you've got to take as many as you can to let the edge play out. If you're randomly taking these, you're going to get random results. So I tell my room all the time, because I do them sometimes in the webinars randomly, and I get random results. It's a great example. One ATR worked for those of you who took it in my room. So now this comes back out of here. I'm taking bark long strategy, lick long strategy. You got to make sure your ATR is up to date. I'm sure this is not, since it's been so dead. Where is my ATR? Yeah. 3.62 it's dropped down to. So now if this comes back out of here, I'm long at 85.75. I can put on 11 MES or one big one. Like, you do not want to. We had an example like this yesterday, and I put on wheat, and I can only put on one, and it's like it's all or nothing. If you do the micros, you can get out of a third, hold 2/3. You can get out of half, hold a half. Right? You do this, it's all or nothing. So anyway, I'll round up 11. I'll go long at 85.75. This is the bark and the lick. Not really real excited about trading anything right now because the markets are so bad, but that's my strategy is in play. I'm putting them on. Lick and bark. All right, those are working. Other than that, I do have a short working here in NASDAQ. This is not, make sure this didn't violate. Might have, hold on. I may be deleting that short. Let's see. 18? No, didn't get up to 18. Alright, so the short's still alive here. If it got up to 18, that would have invalidated my short based on my rules. The one thing I do have to make sure, and I know this is less now, should be 22.84. So I was going to short at 54. Now it's 55.25 with the shrinking ATR. So I got to change that here. This is a slug as well. We'll go over that here again quickly. So I have two different trading strategies that I will short that are working. The slug. How did that red lug work there, by the way? That resistance area, pretty good.
Bids for 4
We see
week
these all
bills
day, every
total
day, guys. That's why I use them. The second most powerful thing I've ever
$377.3
seen in
million.
my trading career are these Ludwig levels. The analogy I use, so some people, they'll contact me, well, what is it? I'm reluctant at using something that I don't know what the inputs are. Well, I don't really know. I mean, you can kind of guess some of the inputs. I don't know what they are either. I don't need to know what they are. Like, the reason being is I've watched it for so long. I know how powerful they are. I don't need to know why they work. The analogy I use in here always is when you walk in a room and you need light, you have to take off the light bulb and break it open to see why the light works, or you just turn on the damn light, right? That's the same thing with these. I don't need to know how they work. I know they work, so I use them religiously. So does my room. When these things go down, people are panicking because they're that incredible, right? I lost my... Oh, anyway, one of my trading strategies is the slug. Stop run into the major lug. So that's working. And the other one is this Izzy trade. The Izzies are short for inflection zones. You can see this thing stopped right in the zone. This is why we use these two. I just got filled. Here we go. I'm not very excited, like I said, having any trades on right now because it feels like I'm going to be whipsawed to death. But yeah, then you can see here's this relative volume. It's been pretty pathetic. It actually picked up a little bit. But these markets are not going anywhere until you start seeing some decent relative volume. So this is the 100% line, just meaning normal trade for this exact 5-minute period. I have mine set for the last 30 days. You can see it's starting to pick up a little bit. But this needs to be, if we're going to see a substantial move, you got to see that. Let's keep an eye on Hero, by the way. So Hero's not doing much yet, notionally. It definitely didn't rally back. So let's see if this, and don't use this, we'll talk about this today in the webinar too. Be very careful using this as the, what's the word I'm looking for? The divergence type of thing. These are independent, right? We'll talk about that. We talked about it last webinar too. Meaning, like, well, the ES was here the last time this was here, and then ES was up here, and this is still down here. In a general sense, yes, but it's not, that doesn't work this way, that way, and we'll talk to them about that. So anyway, this can turn down, and then you have this entity loading up. And that's good. They're not the only entity in the market. So this is interesting, right? They're still buying calls here, so this may be short-lived, this move down. But they're definitely buying puts too. So this is a weird, we'll ask them about this too. Like I don't remember seeing this kind of, we're gonna have a lot of strategies for this too. So you see all the strategies that I have here, right? There's gonna be definitely multiple euro strategies too, because there's just different
Seeing some
situations.
downside in S&P
go over some of them that
500,
I've
still
seen in the
up
last couple months on the webinar.
0.39% on the day.
But this is really important information. These are big players in the market. These dealers have to hedge themselves with positions, with the futures, right? All right, let's see what's going on here. So now that I'm in, I start to look at places I will potentially peel out of this trade. I've got a whopping 10 points in it so far. Let's turn on market pulse too. So this is interesting too. That now, of course, my market pulse is. I told you I had to bring everything in today. Do I even have it on here? Of course not. That's not good. Let's see. I don't even know where it would be. I'll find it and bring it in. I want to show you guys some market pulse examples where you can see that the sellers are being aggressive here. They're sweeping. This one was part of a little bit of stops. But what we do with the market pulse is you want to watch, like if the sellers are being aggressive here and it doesn't move down, well, if it follows a certain pattern, then you can get out of some of them, right? Because why do you want to be short if the sellers are being aggressive here, the big sellers, and it's not going anywhere, right? That's one of the areas where you can potentially, lighten up. What else do we got? I'll definitely get out of half at yellow lug down here, especially because I usually get out of half at yellow lug by itself. Now you look at all the confluence here. You got yellow lug, you got VWAP, you got baby lug. These are lugs. They're just less important, but this is prior red too. So this is a very important area. If it's almost there, I'm getting out of half, especially in this market environment, right? Then you really want to watch this puppy. This is interesting, man. It cannot stay in this whopper. This gets back inside here, then I'm expecting that, just like it did yesterday, right? Same thing. Yesterday, I tried to get in here, failed at point of control, got out, got in here, other side. This gets back in here, other side. So we'll see. Just a thesis, but I'm already short. I'm just coming up with, what could be happening.
7:30 a.m. Eastern Time, the U.S. sells $80 billion
Well, I will watch
in
this area
4-week
very
bills,
closely. Hopefully
prior
we can
high
get down
yield
there.
of 5.29%, and a prior bid to cover of 2.75.
Or I could take my 12 points and run. I won't see. I don't. That's what most traders do, right? Like if you say you mirrored my trade, which you shouldn't be doing. You should be doing this stuff on your own strategies and understanding why. It's fine if you went short because of me, if you understand it. But the point is, like so many of you, I guarantee you, like your stop should be. I didn't even put my stop in. Actually, it should be an ATR above this area, right? Well, how many of you caught the 20 points or whatever this moved initially and like, oh, I'm moving it. Well, first of all, I'm going to be break even if this comes back. That's what the algos want you to do. Why would you do that? You see this? You see this spoofing? When nothing is going on, you are going to get stopped out most of the time. That's why I force, if I'm going to be wrong on this trade, it's got to come all the way back, the ATR plus. It's got to get through that volume event, and it's got to get an ATR above this volume event. And it's this event. I combine these two, remember. There's actually 3 events in here. Sell ice, buy stops. So that's how I make myself wrong. I do not put my stop in the middle of nowhere because I'm imposing my will on the market, meaning I don't want to lose back what I made, right? Well, of course I don't want to lose back what I made, but I'm not letting these jackasses take my money. I can tell you that, right? And you need to stop doing it too. And if I always use this analogy too. If you move your stop in the middle of nowhere, you're literally, it would be the same as you opening up, you're putting your wallet on your desk and open your window and then letting someone come in and just grab your wallet. What's the difference? There is no difference, right? That's what you're doing if you trail your stop into random areas. You're just letting these algos take your cash. So I always tell my room, I'm like, instead of doing that, just don't trade at all. Send the room your entire trading account and we'll split it up equally and you're going to get the same result, right? It's the same thing. All right, I've been talking a lot with nothing going on. Let's see what you guys got any questions. There we go. The announcement in the back. Oh, you know what? You know what that is? Okay, so I had that set correct. Thank you. I'm sorry, I just saw that now. That's what that is. So if I have that, I need to have this low, and then you won't hear the announcing, dude. Sorry about that. We had that problem before. You'd think I would have remembered that. So sorry. Now it won't be so long. Sorry it took me that long to see it. New traders should just be using the 25K and playing micros. Do whatever you want. I mean, it's not that big of a difference as far as I'm talking about the Apex. But yeah, if you use whatever, do whatever you want. It's like 20, 30 bucks versus 90 bucks right now. Like whatever, do whatever you want. Either way, you can. It's a way to work on your trading without risking your own money. And it's also going to help you build your confidence. You know, and if you blow out, you're not blowing out your life savings. You just move on, get another one, do it again until you get really good, right? It takes work, it takes practice, not a game, practice. Gabriel, Scott, can you go through how to get a directional bias for the day? Well, Gabriel, we've been talking about that, and I think you're part of the room too, right? It depends on where we're at. Like, I don't have any directional bias here. Like, if we break this area, then I would have, you know, a directional, it's a thesis. I come up with a thesis. But right here, I don't really have a strong opinion on what's going on here, right? This market should have died like 10 times. ES and Q. Russell keeps holding up. But like smack dab in the middle of this puppy, I have zero directional bias, right? If it were to break out of here or other things, right? We look at the other stuff, the lugs and stuff like that. Or here. Other than that, this is just Chop City, as you're seeing. That's why I'm going to be so quick to get out of this damn trade if it gets down to that yellow lug. In this environment, you want to take your money and run. Not all of them, but I'll get out of half, at least half. See what happens down there. Keep an eye on these puppies. This is how you can judge too. If it gets down the yellow lug and these things are going nuts to the downside, there's a tick strike, you can hold it, try to hold it, right? They're still buying calls here. So this market is very likely going to turn around and just, they're selling. This is a weird, I mean, as far as the little experience I have with this, I can't wait to ask them about this. Like, what do you call? What's your call on when you see something like this? Like, what do you think this is? What do you think would happen in the market? I'm gonna bet he's gonna say it's a chop fest. They're buying calls, that's the yellow line, and they're buying puts, which feels like to me would be just a chop fest. All right. Oh, here we go. So crude. Remember, we were waiting for. The problem is that this violate to the upside, and I might not be able to do anything with this setup. Let's see, based on my rules. So the short invalidation price was 06. Yeah, so that invalidated here. So what does that mean? Here is the event. I was ready to go short. We got an ATR above here. I can't take any shorts. Now it's an ATR below here. Below here. I can't take any longs. That's just the way I trade them. It's a whipsaw here too. So there'll be a new event here. Was this an event? There'll be an event here shortly, I would guess. This was a little guy. I mean, you could combine these two. I hate combining two events just to get the threshold. I mean, if they're back to back, fine, but this was 23.38. You could. You can draw this if you want. Threshold and crude's 150. Tradable event. Let's do something like this. I don't know if that's exactly right, but well, uh-oh. Now we're getting the, uh-oh. Forgot how to get out of this. Now we're getting the crazy. I mean, seriously, me and technology, look at this. Johan, help me. Johan's the developer. I don't know how to get out of this, guys. If you know, tell me. All right, I hit the other. There we go. Yikes. Zone drawing going wild. Let's try that again. No, that didn't work either. All right, I'm done with this. I don't want to trade that anyway. I don't want to piece together to get the threshold, but you can trade it. This is chopping around doing nothing as well. That was fun. That's the highlight of the day right there. That's how bad the trade is. That is the highlight of the day. All right, you know what I can do here too? Since this pulled, so now this is bearish. Algo guy pulled. Blue got below the red here. So now I can take bearish setups, barks and licks in NASDAQ. So what's happening here? This is no surprise. This is a perfect example, right? Like, I want this thing to go straight down. Is it surprising me and this is why, by the way, you don't want to trail your stops in the middle of nowhere. You probably just got stopped out. I expect it to come back to that zone, right? I don't like it, but I expect it. So do you see me panicking out of my shorts? No, this is what it usually does. That's why we have a trade that is based on this exact occurrence. We've seen it 3 or 4 times a day. Last week, I think we saw 10 of them while we were on the webinar. This is what it does. So now if it does this, we just saw that in ES, right? Then I could put on bark and lick shorts as well, different strategies, right? But this move does not surprise me. And the other thing too is I can guarantee you a majority of...
Iceberg sell CL 160 for contracts.
I have a real event there in crude. The majority of you that got short, you just trailed your stop. As it did this, you're like, oh, I got 30 points. I'm going to trail it to break even. Well, you just got stopped out. So what are you going to do when it goes like this and then sells off 200 points? You're going to be beside yourself that you got out in a clown area and got algoed. Don't do that. So anyway, if a retest fails, I'll put on different strategy shorts. And it doesn't surprise me it's coming back. You condition yourself to sit through this. Guys, I was the worst at this. That's why I gravitated to being a scalper when I first started trading. I could not stand, I still can't stand it, but I do it now. Mentally, I can take it. I can't stand this. Most traders can't. That's why most traders don't make it. But if you expect it, you're just like, whatever. You get this above this area, then you win. If not, I'm in my trade. Until you can sit through this and understand these are just rotations and these are algos screwing with you, like right here, you're not going to make it. You're always going to make stupid mistakes because you're afraid something's going to happen. I'm not afraid of anything. I don't want to lose on this trade. My stop's up here, stops me out, I'm done, on to the next trade. That's what trading is. Just keep putting them on, taking advantage of the probabilities. Thanks for sharing your live trading. Sure. There'll be more this afternoon in Spot Gamma. Again, I can't get any worse than this, I don't think. Maybe. All right, we'll draw this and then I'm going to hop off. We're at the 9:30 mark. Plus, there's just nothing going on. So here's some sell ice and crude. Oh, by the way, just want to see, did ES violate to the downside here? I think it did, yeah. So remember, I was waiting for this to come back to the zone. Well, it violated, got an ATR below there, so I got nothing for this strategy. I can't go long because it violated here, and I can't go short because it violated there. And ATR, those are my rules for these zones from watching millions of them. Feels like this is not threshold bias, by the way, so I would not draw a setup for that. All right, last bit here. Let's draw this sell ice zone in crude. Crude's been really moving, so pay attention. You can see these bubbles here. I think this drew correctly there. Started right there. See the spike right there. I would not incorporate this bubble in it. Started there, then it flatlines. So these prices were not part of that sell ice. It was at this price. If you see it start to spike, then you can move it. So just follow it across. There you go. Now it's spiking down. Let's see if it's at different prices. Maybe at the same price, and it is. See? Tag, spike, spike, tag. It's all at one price here. Spike, tag. 69.48 right now is the only price. Then it comes up. See the spike there? That's up here. Right there. See that? 69.55. So right now, minimum, that's the top of my zone. Scroll this puppy down. Why do I have multiple? That's not good. What is going on here, man? Why is this not? All right, so 69.55 down to 69.48. It's off a couple things. I don't know what's going on with this. I'm sure it's something what I did in my Bookmap today. So plug that in. You can include this too. It's not threshold, but it's right after. It's in the same area. So if it did go down a little lower, I don't think so. It was in that zone. So 69.55 down to 69.48. Plug that in. ATR in here is 0.233. Once again, check your areas, see if we're in an important area. Middle of nowhere here, middle of yesterday's balance, nothing there. Ludwig levels. Here's your retest of that zone, by the way. Shocker, shocker. Not surprised. Ludwig levels, nothing. So, algo guy is bearish, so I can take barks and licks to the downside, short side. There's no longs off of that setup for me. Here's your torture treatment with tick strike. I have to have this thing in my trading, but it drives you nuts, especially you get to watch the position go against you and listen to it. That's not fun. Tickles all your senses. Not in a good way. Hey, you ever see this pattern? Do you guys ever see this pattern? Retest the zone. It's ridiculous. There you go. Let's see what that one was. And these are A+ too, reversion trades. I don't want to get into that, but you get moves back into prior events. Those are the best. We talk about that in my room every day. Let's see what those prices were. Actually, I got to get my stops in. I did not put my stops for this short. My stop goes at 20.50. Anyway, the 1 ATR was at 61. You stop out at 33. You may have been stopped out of the 1. No? Sure didn't. I don't think. Let's see. Oh, barely. You barely got stopped out of the 1, but you got the 2 on. The 2 was... So this is where you have to be consistent. If you're going to do it, if you're going to do 1s and 2s, you take all the 1s, all the 2s. So the 1 stopped out. Sorry, over here. 1 stopped out. The 2 you got in at 40.50. Never got down to the 3. So the 1 worked. The 1 lost. The 2 worked. So net, you're profitable on those 2 trades. All right, I got to put my stop in here. So 20.50 if it comes back. That's why I was so ready to get out at any important area. It just didn't make it down there because I had a feeling this was going to do this because the trade's so bad. All right, those are working. So I'm making this come all the way back in an ATR above here. If it stops me out, on to the next trade. That's what trading probabilities is. All right, guys, that's it. Sorry, the trade sucks so bad today. I would watch this event if it go ATR retest failure. I'm taking shorts off of this crude event. Other than that, Spot Gamma webinar at 12 Central. If you want to see more of this exciting action, it'll be good. Even if it's dead, it's really good to get on those because I ask them very basic questions because I'm using this in the very basic sense as well. So it's going to be, this is very important information, guys. We even talked about this when that market did move down. I said, well, they're still buying calls. This is probably going to snap back, and there you go. So this is really good information to have. You get into an important area, and you see this, you're like, you know what, I'm gonna get out of 3/4 of these. They're buying calls. That's good enough for me. See what I'm saying? You want to pay attention to this. All right, I will see you guys this afternoon. I put the link in the room. If not, go to Spot Gamma website, or I will see you next Thursday. Thank you.